Hello again, it's Matt and CeCe with a bit of a surprise appearance. We know it's been a long time, but we thought with the death of Queen Elizabeth II this week, what with me being British, English, and, well, I'll tell you my age, 52, and with CeCe being somewhat younger and American, we thought it might be quite interesting and appropriate to comment from those two perspectives on Her Majesty's death and, of course, the accession of King Charles III, which is difficult for everyone to get used to saying because we've been saying Prince Charles for so many years. So that's the reason for our being here today. And one thing, bit of housekeeping, if you have emailed us, even in the last year or so, and didn't get a reply, we have had troubles which were not Gmail's fault, but if we didn't reply, I thought it would be insulting to reply after that long gap. So please email us again, and we apologise. So, CeCe, what I wanted to do was turn to you first and say, why do you think the Americans, millions of them who are so fond of the royal family in Britain, why do you think that's so?
That's a good question. I think it's because we don't have anything like Queen Elizabeth or Prince Charles or like this royal family to look at that is almost like supersedes popularity because they are from this thousands of years of ruling of Great Britain, and they're part of the history. They're like living history, and we don't really have that. I mean, we have descendants of presidents, but I wouldn't say people like look up to the Kennedy family the same way, and they're not put on display the way the Queen is as someone who's good, who's charitable. There's some people who would disagree, but I think the royal family does a lot of good, and I think we don't have any fixture like that. And because we were once, we were from Great Britain and colonized by the British, that we the United States has that special relationship. And so it's interesting too. I think it's just interesting to watch. It's sort of like with the Kardashians in a way. It's just that's the only parallel I can think of. Is not like they're a royal family, but just who doesn't want to like follow in a family and be interested in that? And like the dynamics, maybe they mirror your own, or it's fascinating. And the wealth, the glamour.
And what
obviously.
You say about the Kardashians is interesting, because another reason I think about the affection is that a lot of Americans, like a lot of Brits in fact, I think like to look up to a head of state, a leader who's apolitical.
That's very nice.
And I think that, in both countries, in the States here, the president is head of state, and in Britain, the monarch is head of state.
And the church, which is a big responsibility. So it's such a overarching, and like you say, sort of out of the political fray. They don't really lose or win favor. I mean, sure, there's times where people are more with them than against them, but they're always there. She was there for so long. It's lovely to have that.
Which everyone is saying about the continuity. But I think what we've got with the affection for folks like the Kardashians and the Kennedys, which I can say in the same breath with a straight face, is because I think the structure's the same. In Britain, we've been looking up to a monarch who, as I say, has been getting more and more apolitical, although not completely, as we know. So a bit like in the same way that a lot of secular Americans will turn to the kind of counselors and psychologists and experts they see on PBS and sit there in their pews basically lapping up what they're being preached, even though it's not a religious thing. In the same way, I think Americans love to look up to a family like as I say, the Kardashians or the Kennedys or anyone else whose name begins with a K.
And I think exactly, it's always the K families.
As I say, that same scaffolding is there.
I think, and I do think a lot of the wealth, the outfits, the hats, for me, have a lot to do with it. Like, I remember I was in middle school when Prince William was engaged to Kate Middleton.
That's right.
I remember having like an Us Weekly magazine of all her outfits. I still remember the type of nude shoes she wore, and they're like idols in a way. I mean, you look up to them like celebrities, but more than celebrities. And they're not selling you like fat burning tea. and things like that. They're a little bit more. I mean, they do have their own brand of things, I believe. The royal family. They put their stamp on it, but it's a little bit different. And I feel like they're a little bit more. They have more discretion. But I mean, I'm a big fan of The Crown too, the TV show on Netflix, and my mom and I love it. And the family is fascinating. It's the rules that they live by are I think would be very difficult to implement, especially nowadays, but they still do it. They keep it going.
Yeah, and it's funny listening to that because with you personally, it's so associated with your memories. I mean, I can't. You're allowed to say the year you were born. I won't. But
well, you said your age, right? So
that's the year. You can work out the year I was born, but not you.
Right.
Although, of course you can. The whole freaking podcast called 25
Well, it's 25 years apart.
Crikey.
So I was born in '94. So
viewers, listeners, because we should have said this podcast again is being broadcast.
A Brit, a Brat, and a 25-year gap.
And it is being broadcast
Almost rhymes.
On YouTube visually, on video, and just on audio.
And just the audio, yeah.
And for those who are just listening, we're broadcasting this from the rooftop garden of our home in South Seattle. So I've got a bit of vertigo right now. That's
It is bright. It is bright out here.
I've lost my thread. What was I saying?
Well, we were just saying...
memory.
Yeah.
So we no secret now. So you were born in '94, and I was born in '69, and I think this is such a common thread among all the people who have been commenting, the pundits and the public, is just how the Queen is sewn into the tapestry of everyone's memory. One of my earlier memories in my whole life was being in school and being about, I've been 7 years old, and each of us was given a Silver Jubilee 1977 commemorative coin, which indeed I still have. It's still, I think it's about 2 blocks down the road in our storage.
And so that Jubilee, how long was because I know there was recently the 70th one.
Yeah.
But which one was that for, that you got the
That was
coin?
the Silver Jubilee, that was the 25 years.
25 years, okay.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah, so you would have been very young, yeah.
Yeah, and there's another thing, as we say that and do that bit of math, which is that Queen Elizabeth, I think, was on the throne for about Queen Elizabeth I was on the throne for 45 years, and Queen Victoria, I think it was 64 years.
Yeah.
So now, of course, we know that Queen Elizabeth II was reigned for 70 years. So I think, again, sewn into all these reactions and responses people are giving, it is the awareness that they now know what it's like to live through some extended period of history that becomes history with a capital H.
Yeah, like that'll be the end of the Elizabethan era.
Yeah. I mean, certainly with Queen Elizabeth I, it was a decades and decades long reign, and in those days,
in those days it would have been a lot more significantly longer in terms of people's lifetimes. They weren't as long.
That's another good. I hadn't thought of that. That's
45 years was longer now. I mean, 70 years is incredible.
Yeah.
And they'll probably only increase,
Yeah, you're right. And what I was thinking is that, to reign for 45 years with the nature and the degree of power that Queen Elizabeth I had, admittedly, that probably had somewhat more direct effect on the lives of ordinary people.
Yeah.
As we got further and further ingrained into a constitutional monarchy, so by the time of the 63-year reign of Queen Victoria, again, she had a significant effect, but probably somewhat less so in some ways than Queen Elizabeth I. And now we've had 70 years of a queen who is probably even more of a figurehead, but it's still significant. I mean, she still has to give her royal assent to any laws, the bills that are introduced and passed, in the House of Commons.
Yeah, and being like the heart and soul of the country, and what people think of when they think of England, they think of Queen Elizabeth II, and the royal family, of course. And I think that's lovely, because politicians, they definitely come and go.
Yeah.
And to have the head of your country be this elected official instead of, I think the idea is, it's sort of romantic, but obviously there's people who are, have a difference of opinion. I heard something interesting about how the end of the 19th century wasn't really over until the death of Queen Victoria, whereas they're saying the end of the 20th century wasn't really over until the death of Queen Elizabeth, which obviously isn't true actually because we're already in the 21st century. But I just thought that was an interesting point, and it is like living through such an important historical moment.
Yeah.
Without,
It is.
Now in the reign of Charles III.
Yeah. Which people are starting to debate. Do we call that the Carolian age or the Caroline age?
Yeah, we like Carolian.
Right.
Yeah,
Carolian
sounds cool.
It does.
Sort of like a car, like a Toyota or something.
You took the words out of my mouth.
Yeah.
You took my joke.
Like a model car.
That's not fair. Yeah, and again, sorry about the airplane noises because
we
we're
are
outside.
on the roof. We're not that far from the airport, which is very convenient.
Yeah, and it's funny though to think, and the reason I made that point about the direct influence of these three different long reigning monarchs or queens in people's lives is that, you know, when people can now summarize the last 70 years as the Elizabethan era, I think it's interesting, especially for folks in Britain, to reflect and think, well, that's what's going to be written in the history books. It's not going to be the, you know, grassroots lived experience, so much the social history of everyday people. So how do you like being characterized as being from the second Elizabethan era? Does it mean much? Does it mean much in the same way that you're a child of the Obama years, or that you were brought up in the Kennedy era? Does it even have that? Are you even, you know, happy enough to trot away knowing that you're probably in most history books, you know, to the extent that you, in quote marks, are referred to at all, you know, it'll be the Elizabethan era, which, by the way, has now dated almost everything from the best part of the last, you know, 3/4 of a century. Because we were saying that, I mean, until Harry Potter came along, and basically was mentioned in the same breath from that point on. Really, when people talked about, you know, England, let's say, you know, a parent had to go to England for a business trip, they would say, yeah, we're going to go to England and we can go to Buckingham Palace and see the Queen.
Right, exactly.
Maybe meet the Queen.
Yeah.
It was
like if you come, you know, to Washington, D.C., you might see the president in the White House or something. Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, that's great.
By the way, it's just.
But when I was in England, I definitely I thought more of Harry Potter and more of like, oh, what if I saw Daniel Radcliffe, or what if I saw, you know,
Emma
I don't
Watson.
know, or Ralph Fiennes or something.
Yeah, of
that
course.
Would be great.
Yeah.
Alan Rickman, something like that. But
all these male
all
names,
these celebrities,
these male
or Emma
names,
Watson, that would be cool too. That would be awesome. And then of course they all live in the United States. You know, whenever I see them, or they not live, but they're all like in New York or they're in LA or something. So, that's sort of silly, but it's about as silly as thinking you'll see the Queen if you go to England. I mean, you could definitely see Buckingham Palace, but
that's the thing about travel. One of the most infuriating things, if you're someone who you know, does your homework and then decides to fly for a trip somewhere, and so you localize not just the city but maybe the corner of the city where a member of the royal family or a celebrity is, and try as you might to time it with parades or events or premieres that they're attending, you don't see them, and then a year later at the pub you bump into someone, you know, like a new friend of a friend, and they say, yeah, the oddest thing, we got there, we're not even interested in the Queen, and by golly, we bumped into her twice. You know, once we saw her on parade and she, you know, she almost fell off her horse and we had to help her back on.
Yeah, we have.
Then we saw her in Harrods, and you'll be the same with Daniel Radcliffe.
Exactly. Well, yeah, gosh, that would be grand. I was in New York when I was about 16, and he was on a play on Broadway, and I really wanted to just see him around in the streets, but obviously it didn't happen. I was only there for a day, but that would have been amazing. But there's a funny story in my family of because my mom's Catholic. And
That's
raised
right.
as Catholic, and my dad's very, I guess he's an atheist. He's not religious, and not religious anyway. Not atheist, but not religious. And so he ended up seeing the Pope, I think, twice. You know, in the Pope mobile, you know, going past on his travels.
Didn't you see him in the grocery outlet?
In the grocery,
Mount Baker,
exactly.
No.
And he saw him in Safeway. No. And my mom wanted, you know, oh, of course you would see him because you're not even religious. It means nothing to you. But I mean, it's still very cool.
Yeah.
But it
I'd
always
say
makes
so.
me laugh. You know, that's how it works out though sometimes.
Yeah,
Wrong person in the right place.
yeah. Talking of which, to link us back, isn't the Vatican City one of the remaining absolute monarchies in the world?
I did not know
I
that.
think so. Oh
Wow.
boy, if I've got that wrong, I'm going to look even more of a fool
I'm
than I
trying to
normally
think
do.
of what's another absolute monarchy that's.
Brunei,
Oh, okay.
maybe.
Yeah.
Oh golly, we might have to edit this bit of the
Yeah, we
podcast
might
out
have
because
to.
I think
I don't know what I'm
might,
talking
I think I
about.
might be wrong.
Yeah.
But I know that, despite what a lot of folks think, I'm going to go out on a limb and say it's been the longest time since Britain has had any hint of an absolute monarchy. In the 13th century, the Magna Carta started off saying, "Look, neither the king nor the government are above the law,"
Yeah.
and laid the foundations for important matters like trial by jury. And then you had that solidified in the 1680s by the Glorious Revolution and the English Bill of Rights.
Yeah.
So more and more, I wouldn't say the monarchy's influence has phased out, but it's got slightly less significance. Sorry,
Yeah,
I keep
and
blathering.
no,
You're trying to say
it's
something.
good. No, I was just thinking it's good to have it be where it's. I think a lot of countries strive to be more and more democratic, more free. So it's not just one person calling all the shots, and that's great. And I think a lot of countries got their influence from that Magna Carta. And,
Yeah.
that.
Oh, you bet.
Yeah, and
You bet.
so it's a good thing. But I would be sad if the royal family ceased to exist in my lifetime. I think that would be very odd. But I know a lot of people are in favor of that. They're not being there at all, and it would just be strange to me.
Yeah.
Without them, and where would they go? Where would they live? It would just
Yeah,
it's
well.
I think it'll be good to modernize it, as they say King Charles will do, and make it. They keep saying slim line. That's right, King Charles. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, that's right. No, it's just the idea that he'll do. Is that what you said? That he'll do?
That they say he's going to make the monarchy more slimmed down.
Oh, I see.
Less,
I see. That's what he'll do.
Yeah, that's
I'm
what
sorry.
he's going to end
I
up
misheard.
doing. Yeah, it'll be less, probably maybe less people living in less palaces, that kind of thing. He's going to make it more modern, which
Yeah.
every monarch has had to do.
Yeah.
Modernize with the times, and I think that's going to be his decision.
Yeah, and since you bring up that more serious note, I think that I'm going to tread delicately because I don't want this whole podcast to become political. But I think that if we're going to have a monarch, or I should say, if Brits, because I've lived over here for so long now, I'm a US citizen. I really should properly say they. So if Brits, are going to have a monarch, given the issues facing the world now, such as, and given his, fairly pronounced and sometimes with the edge of irascibility, given his quite forthright views on things like the built environment traditionally, which I think extend to an extent to climate.
Mm-hmm.
I think that if he's going to hold his tongue, as he said in his first address, if he's going to change his life, change his involvement in charities, and I think therefore have to hold his tongue more than he has done as Prince of Wales.
Yeah.
I think that he will probably target and time his comments as head of state much more, so that hopefully they'll have an appropriate influence, if not power. They'll have influence over government decisions,
Have
or
to
at least
finesse
government
it.
thinking.
Yeah.
Because I think he'll be, well, I can't get too political and say right thinking, but I think he'll be concerned about as I say, the climate and the built environment.
Yeah.
And that's another thing. Sorry if you let me blather on just for 1 second. That's another thing about the Queen, and a benefit of her longevity, is that as part of the tapestry that I mentioned, and her importance over the last 3/4 of a century, even if you see her just as a figurehead, we have moments such as 10 or 12 years ago when she made, for the first time in about 100 years, she made her first visit as a British monarch to Ireland,
Right.
and that had moments of such significance. And if I can say even more seriously that this is not a political comment, because I have a little understanding of several sides of the situation about Britain and Ireland, and of course Northern Ireland through the years. but I will just say that it meant so much to so many people when she talked and shook hands with folks like Martin McGuinness, who had been involved with the IRA, I understand, because her own uncle had been a victim, of course, of the IRA, an IRA bomb. And I think
Mountbatten, right?
Mountbatten, yeah.
Mountbatten,
and I think that moments like that are just, again, they're emblematic, they're symbolic of literally hundreds of thousands or millions of other similar sacrifices and compromises that had to be made in order for the Good Friday Agreement to be reached at, and hopefully now to endure. And I just say, even if that sounds shaded too partisan, I say hopefully, purely, in the sense that for whatever its rights and wrongs, it sure has brought on much more peace than I was brought up with, which was I'd say every week or two in the news there was incidents and tragedies and grievances on both sides that were justified. So
it's a long time for it to go on.
It's not like us to get quite so serious, but I just wanted to point that out, because I think that's another reason she's important. And I could reel off other examples, but that, on a slightly lighter note, anyone who's not watching this and just listening, or anyone who's visually impaired, might not know that I had on a cap, my England cricket cap, which has the crown and 3 lions that I'm holding up to the camera.
And what's the brand of it?
The brand is Adidas.
That's one of the things I love about your voice, because I say Adidas.
Yeah. And we have various mischievous, made up readings of that as an acronym. I mean, we feign to think.
Oh gosh.
It was either All Day I Dream About Sex or All Day I Dream About Sport, if you wanted to be there.
Oh, is that what it stands for?
No.
Oh, okay.
It's
just a brand name.
Yeah, it's just a brand name.
Adidas, yeah.
But anyway,
it's a great brand name. It sounds like a Greek god or something, Adidas.
It does. It does, doesn't it? But anyway, I took it off a few minutes into the podcast, and I've been grooming my luscious mane of dispiritingly greying hair.
But in a very nice way.
Thank you.
It's graying in a nice way.
And now the only clothing that's really visible is my TWA t-shirt, to which, by the way, CeCe has a campaign that she's going to get a square of paper and Sharpie the letter T in red on it and put it at the end, so it doesn't read TWA, it reads TWA with a T on the end.
It's another great English word that we don't use. It's very underused here.
And if we were less appropriate than we are, I think we were going to do that as a little stump for this podcast. But then we thought, given the nature of the week, it's not very appropriate. But anyway,
that's true.
Something what I was going to say. Get to the point, Matt, for goodness sake.
What's the point?
The point is that the only piece of clothing I have visible is a TWA t-shirt, and nothing says respect for the momentous events of this week than a defunct American airline.
Yeah.
And its outdated logo. So apologies, Your Majesties.
I know,
Plural.
but you really wanted it. It's not vintage, but it is the old.
I did.
Yeah.
Have you noticed that the thing you're supposed to do, whatever t-shirt you have, whether the following story is true or not, everyone's supposed to, when someone comments it, they're supposed to glance down with feigned surprise and say, "Oh, this old thing."
Yeah, right,
I can't.
exactly.
And you sort of fakely, is that a word?
Vaguely?
No, fake. No, like a fake.
False,
there is a word.
Falsely?
That'll do. Right.
Yeah.
Email us, please, aBrit&aBrat@gmail.com. That's all it is, no punctuation, aBrit&aBrat@gmail.com.
When I'm wearing
and tell us what the proper word is. But I didn't get to my point. They faintly look in the middle distance and say, "Yeah, this whole thing now. Where did I go? Oh, I think an ex-girlfriend of mine just left it on the floor, and she left in a huff. So I've got it now."
I didn't actually go to the website, pick out the design, buy it.
In fact, the truth.
Get express shipping. No, nothing like that.
And I actually did ask you expressly for this, didn't I?
Yeah, you did.
Because you buy me
which
a
I
t-shirt
like. It's
once
easy.
every 6 months.
Yeah, that's true. It's a good gift.
For reasons that we wrote. Recap.
I'm a cheap gift giver. No.
No. I'm a cheap requester. I miss
it makes it
easier.
easier. It makes it easier.
I should ask for a carriage clock every 6 months.
And I do like when people tell you directly what they want, because it can be really hard to buy gifts for people that say, "Oh, I don't want anything."
Yeah.
That can be hard. So it's nice when you get it direct. It's fun though when you surprise someone with something that they really didn't even know they wanted, and then they get it and they're so happy. But that's hard to do, in my opinion.
Yeah.
But on a final note, just thinking about the Queen, I wanted to say, I think one of the sweetest and most real moments was seeing those cars driving so quickly into the gates of the Balmoral Castle because they were trying to get to her
that's right.
so fast.
Yeah.
You know, it was like, I think it was Charles was already there,
Yeah.
but I think it was like Andrew and probably Princess Anne and William, and they were all driving so.
Sorry to interrupt. Anne and Charles made it in time.
Yeah,
They were by
Charles.
her.
Oh yeah. And so all of them just racing in. It just seems so real. And like if you know somebody if you're losing someone, you drive so fast to get there.
Yeah.
It's very realistic.
Yeah, in fact, that it reminds me that was the moment when we woke up and heard on the news that she was seriously ill and that her family were effectively rushing to be with her.
Yeah.
When CeCe and I looked at each other and we were trying, and I said, honestly, this could be a big scare and she could be here 5 years from now. But what made us hold back from that sort of optimism was that very fact that they were telling the family to rush, which, as CeCe says, that's what you do.
Yeah.
If
you want to see them, get here now,
yeah.
and you're like, okay, I'm going to get there.
We sort of gave each other a glance and said, I don't think it looks very good
Yeah.
for her. And then you were the first to spot, I think it was Dermot Monahan, because the in Seattle, the only British news channel we get without going on the computer is Sky News.
Yeah, but I saw it before he said it. They had a little purple marker at the bottom of the screen that said the Queen dies, and then he announced it. So I had seen that before. But they put that up maybe simultaneously, but I read it before he started speaking or before I heard him speak. So, yeah. Big morning,
but
big news.
I remember, and I say this for once without a hint of a smile, when they put up the caption just after Dermot Monahan made his announcement of it, they put a picture of the Queen and started up the national anthem, and I just leapt to my feet. We were on our little blue sofa in our apartment a few floors below us, and I just leapt to my feet and I just said, we should stand up.
Yeah.
And CeCe sprung up next to me, and we stood there for that 30 seconds or so of the national anthem they played.
It was such a moving moment that they did that.
Yeah, and it
and
was
to
just
have to be able to share it, because so many people are watching or reading or looking online, or
that's right.
You're all sort of watching it together. So.
By the way, you're looking very royal yourself. You've got such excellent posture. You have your hands clasped across
I know I'll tuck my
knees.
feet the way they do, the way you're supposed to sit. So.
Oh really?
Yeah, you're supposed to sit with your.
What's the way I'm sitting saying about me? Don't say it.
I don't know. Relaxed.
I am relaxed, but I'm doing something right now. And again, sorry if you can't. Well, it's not going to give you sleepless nights of envy if you're not seeing this. But one thing I'm doing is I'm patting my tummy, and I was saying to my mum the other day about my late dad, that I said that's one thing he used to do when he was, in his case, when he was nervous or anxious.
Like a self-soothing thing.
Yeah, and I don't do it for that reason. I'm not very nervous or anxious now, and I sort of find myself doing it. But then, on a show I was watching last night, I saw a woman who I think maybe fancied a guy in the room. She was patting her stomach. Now, she wasn't pregnant, but I wonder, is it something that women subconsciously do when they'd like to be?
It sounds like something you'd read in Cosmopolitan. I heard something
right.
I read in Cosmopolitan once. They said, if you want to attract a man, sit at a bar, let your arms be folded like against each other, so almost like to mimic, and put them on the bar, clasping your elbows to mimic holding a baby. And it'll signify subconsciously to them that you'd be like a good mate.
Now, hang on.
And they also said that while you're sitting there with your arms folded like a cradle, to have one of your, if you're wearing sandals or something, have your shoe dangling off a bit, because it looks like you're not going anywhere. You're staying for a while.
Now, you see, I tried
You can't run away, no.
I mean, not when I saw you for the first time, because frankly I had a shopping cart and I was in Safeway on Rainier Avenue. But before I met you, I did that. I used to get my
have your sneaker off.
My biker boot, and I used to try and dangle it seductively off.
Right.
And then I thought, well, maybe having, Mickey Mouse socks doesn't help. So I did it naked. No, I don't mean I was naked. I mean my foot was bare, and it didn't work.
Oh gosh, yeah. I don't know if that's the same for men.
A very, very pretty girl approached me, but she was the manager and asked me to leave.
Yeah.
But actually, in those days when I used to this is not. Sorry, we won't devolve much because we're trying to be appropriate for this episode. But it's the sort of thing I would have done. Let's face it. In the days when I enjoyed a beer
Well,
or two,
if Cosmo
when I
says to
enjoyed
do
a
it,
pint.
they
What?
say to do it, you should. No, I'm kidding. I think
No.
it's horrible advice. I think
What are
that
men
stuff
supposed
doesn't
to do?
work.
Come on.
They never say what the men are supposed to do in these magazines. It's
Yeah.
purely from the female, what you do to attract them. But
Yeah.
I mean, in movies, I think it's nice when a guy stands at the bar and has an elbow, kind of stands sideways with his elbow on the bar, and then maybe a drink in his other hand. That's what they do in the movies, so that looks good. Kind of
Yeah.
standing sideways,
Yeah.
Yeah, maybe like one foot crossed behind the other. But then you're likely to fall, so that's not cute.
Yeah. That's.
And
not-
I have fallen in bars, and that is so embarrassing. So yeah.
Some people can fall in a very attractive way. Actually. They can.
They do it in
make
like all the rom-coms when women fall all the
Yeah.
time. But when it really happens to you in real life, it's not that cute. Unless you're so wasted that this has happened to me where I'm so drunk and I'm dancing and I'm having a good time and
I'm
I fall.
sure that's not true, Cecilia.
Yeah, I fall and I get right back up and I'm like, well, okay, let's keep going. And then they ask you to leave.
But I don't believe that of
Oh.
you because
No.
because you're a woman of, and we're going to get back to near regal talk here. You're a woman of such dignity that I'll let you into viewers and listeners into a secret. When she answers the phone, always, whoever's on the other end, she answers it like this.
This is she?
Yeah.
Well, they'll
So-
say, is this Cecilia? And you go, yes, this is she.
Oh, that's right. You don't actually pick it up and say this. Is
I
she.
always say
Of course not.
hello, and that's that's it. It's the boringest way. But I don't. You always go, this is Matt, and I don't like to say my name when I answer the phone in case back in the day or whatever it was someone trying to get a debt paid, so you don't want them to know your name. So I wouldn't say this is Cecilia.
And again, I'm sure you haven't been in debt before.
Well.
Crikey, you're making me work hard.
Oh, okay. Well,
But the only fault with the way I do it, I'm going to touch on something else in a minute. Don't sigh.
I'm not.
The only thing about the way I do it is that a lot of people are taken off guard, and this is not deliberate on my part, but they think it's a recording.
Yes.
getting.
Yeah.
This is
that I
Matt.
could see. Yeah.
And they gear
This is
themselves
Matt.
up to
Please
leave
leave a message.
And then when I pause, as if to say, what the blank are you doing staying silent on me? This is not a Hitchcock movie.
Right.
What I was going to say is this, and I was about to give the number, but I better not.
Don't.
But there is a certain group of people, or a certain, I won't say class of people, because that's a loaded term in Britain, but there was a certain era, let's say, when a lot of people answered the phone by giving their number, which I think was important in the very early days when the numbers were only 3 or 4 digits long.
Right. Yeah.
But by the time they became 4, 5, 6, without even the area code thrown in, that I don't know. I don't think my mum, who's now, I won't give her age, but who's now, she's my mum, and I'm 52, so draw your own conclusions.
Right.
But she doesn't. I think she stopped doing it now. I'm trying to think. I speak with her at least once a week, and I'm trying to think. No, I think she just says hello now.
Yeah, she just says hello.
But we
when
were
I've
brought up
called.
to do that, and I did it for the longest time.
Wow.
I don't
I
think I
didn't
did it
know
once I
that.
got to the US. Yeah.
Yeah.
So if you'd called me, well, I can't say the number. I
Yeah,
can't say any
but it
number
would
now.
be
It would just be Guildford, 5, 6, blah blah blah, whatever
right.
it might
Yeah.
be.
Oh, that's
How did we get from the somberness of this week? But, and I'm not just being willfully like this. We can't give details, but someone very close to us had a new arrival, a baby.
Oh, that's
this
true.
week.
Yeah. We
And
have
then something else
another.
happened,
We
didn't
have
it? You go.
another.
Can we say it though? Can we even say it yet?
We
in
have a
case we
new
release
baby
this?
in the family.
We have a
let's
new
just say
baby in the
that.
family.
Yeah.
Let's just say that.
So
And
that's
so that
really exciting.
that happened on September the 10th.
Mhm.
Yes, which was good because it avoided September the 8th, which from now on will be a sadly historic date. It avoided September the 11th, which is already a tragically
Yeah.
memorable date.
Yeah.
Um,
So just a
and-
lovely.
But we did realise that September 10th was the day that King Charles III was officially proclaimed king.
Right. So
Um,
a historic day in a positive way.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and then, and I'm only pausing because I'm trying to remember how to pronounce it correctly, but we went yesterday, CeCe and I, to the Capehart-Gardens.
Yeah, it was
Garden,
beautiful.
sorry, I should say garden, singular, which are beautiful Japanese gardens.
Yeah,
Not the
lovely.
ones near the University of Washington in northeast Seattle, but the ones in south of Columbia City, near between Columbia City, Othello,
Yeah,
that sort
but
of
they're
area.
gorgeous
They're
bridges
gorgeous.
and,
But we
you
were
know,
walking there and
tree
just about,
gardens and yeah,
yeah,
just lovely.
and we were walking there yesterday, just about to leave, and we went past a water area, water feature, and we saw the wedding and passed by this couple who were on the bridge. They were having a wedding with the friends and the person officiating, and just as they were given permission, the groom, they said, "You may now kiss your wife." So in a week, we saw that had a death, an accession to the throne. We had a new arrival in the family, and we witnessed, as you might say, the crucial
A
part of a
wedding
wedding
and
ceremony.
2 quinceañeras, so that was pretty cool.
And those say what that word again, and then say what they are, love. Because
Oh, sure, yeah, no, a quinceañera is just
please,
a rite of passage when you turn 15, a big celebration, like
i-
becoming a woman, like a bar mitzvah or
in
something.
what culture?
Latinx, that culture, I believe, so
Okay.
mainly, yeah. They're really fun though, and it was lovely to see the girls in these huge, beautiful tulle gowns and
Yeah.
just gorgeous. So a wedding, two
And
quinceañeras,
and in the parking lot, two of the biggest limousines
yeah,
that
Hummer
we've ever
limousines.
seen.
So it was like I was like, oh wait, this isn't prom season, but it looked like
Yeah,
that.
and the
So
limos were so
really
big
fun.
that you think that if the destination was close enough, you could just the vehicle didn't have to move. You could start walking from the back of it to the door at
Yeah,
the front.
I think we'll
We
end it.
we're
Yeah.
going to end things here because we're having a couple of recording difficulties. We're recording this in two different ways, and one of them isn't working so well.
So
So we hope the one of them turns out okay. Thanks
thanks
for
for
watching.
listening
Yep,
and
we're
watching.
watching.
Yeah.
Yep, and
And until next time.
yeah, we don't want to say when we'll do another one. Hopefully, it will be very soon. We just don't want to overpromise and underdeliver because we know these are very sporadic at the moment. So
Yeah.
thanks again, and long live the king.
Yes, long live the king.